It's 5 to 7 and I'm going down to get breakfast before going on a small, what is it called again? The Great Ocean Road small eco tour. It's going to last 14 hours. I don't know how I'm going to cope with that because the past 3 days I had to go back to the hotel at around 4 or 5 p.m. because I was so tired because of the jet lag. So I don't know how I'm going to keep awake until 8:30 tonight. I'm really excited to do this road trip because it's one of the most famous Australian road trips. We're going down south about 208 kilometers and we're stopping along the way. Hopefully we should see some koalas. I can't wait. The first stop is going to be in surf town and we'll be stopping there for breakfast. It will be provided by the tour. We'll have a walk in a rainforest, then we're going to go to apollobay to see the most famous part of the Great Ocean Road, which is the 12 apostles. We're going to see the site of a shipwreck called Loch Ard Gorge. So yeah, let's go. By the way, I tried to go to bed late yesterday, but I could only keep awake until 7 p.m. and my eyes were closing. Usually I never get that tired. I will only sleep if I want to. I slept until 2 a.m. Then I was awake for an hour. I finished editing the England video. Then I slept from 3 a.m. until 5:30 and now I'm awake. In Scotland, it's Saturday night around 10 p.m. This is going to be interesting. I picked this tour because the koalas are going to be just there in their colony, so hopefully it will bother them as little as possible.
Things that I can't change. See, I'm never satisfied. People tell me love is mine, but I'm hunting with my eyes. Never happy keeping it the same, as I live for the chase. I want it just cause I can't have it. I'm under chemical reaction.
We've arrived in Torquay. This is where the brand Rip Curl was invented. The tour is brilliant. I'm learning so much about Melbourne and Australia in general. Our guide said that the Great Ocean Road is divided into 3 parts. One is called the Surf Coast, and that's where we are. This is a super famous surf location for Australia. I think it's maybe the most famous. Then we've got the Green Coast, famous for its greenery. And then the last one is the Shipwreck Coast. What I'm really loving about Torquay is that there are so many dogs. It's my place.
Close my eyes, I see your face. I can't get you off my mind. You're in my dreams. You're with me all the time. Take a walk to shake it off. I play it over in my brain. I go in circles, so much that I could say. Oh, no matter what I do.
Strait. The Bass Strait is the body of water that separates Tasmania.
The Great Ocean Road was actually built by soldiers of the First World War who went back to Australia, and basically they lacked skills to work when they came back from the war. They were soldiers, that's all they could do. And so they had this idea of having them build the Great Ocean Road. As you will see when the road starts, there is a statue of soldiers of the Great War who traveled to Europe from Australia and then traveled back. And also the Great Ocean Road was built to increase tourism in Australia because before you couldn't really drive along that coast. I can't remember the name of this water in front of us, but it's the one that divides Australia and Tasmania. Strait something. By the way, Torquay is actually the surf capital of Australia. Wow, I didn't know that. And the first beach looked a bit quiet because that was the front beach, but then we drove to the back beach. That's where surfers go because there's more waves.
I can never turn it off, an endless flicker in the dark. I've got a wild fire in my heart. I keep running, but I fall. Don't think I'm ever moving on. I hear you calling me.
I'm about to see my first koala and I'm very excited. We only saw one koala and it was a bit far away, but it was so cute. You can see how fluffy it is, and also it's so random that they stay there on a branch of a tree. I hope we'll get to see more, but still I'm happy we got to see one. It's really important not to feed them, obviously, because they could develop some illnesses. There's a campaign called Keep Australian Wildlife Wild, so that they, like animals, don't rely on humans for food and they remain wild. And also I read on the news recently that they found a cure for chlamydia for koalas because so many die for that illness, and they do have antibiotics, but they make it difficult for them to digest eucalyptus, so they either die of chlamydia or they can't eat, and so they starve. So that's a good news. It's actually so cute. It looks fake, like it looks like a teddy bear. I would love to see them more closely. Our guide said that Kennet River is where grey nomads settle. Grey nomads are retired Australians who, like, their children left the family home, and so they will buy maybe a camper van or they will settle in a camping site so they get to tour Australia. We stopped in Apollobay for lunch and I had a lovely souvlaki, which is quite in fashion in Australia, in a place called George's. So if you come this way, I recommend George's. They also have burgers and pizzas. And then there's an award-winning ice cream shop. They have Vegemite flavored ice cream, which is something I surely won't have ever. Not even if they pay me. The chocolate ice cream of this shop won best ice cream in Australia for 9 consecutive times, or maybe not consecutive, but for 9 times. I regret not having it, but I'm too stuffed after the souvlaki.
try to find my way against the wall, losing all my patience. The more I learn, the less I feel I know. Let's say goodbye, I'm tired of fighting, always coming back to you, you know.
The 12 apostles are not actually 12. There's only 7 of them, 7 standing rocks. One fell down in 2005. There was 8 of them and then one fell down. They were called Sow and Piglets actually, but when the Great Ocean Road was built and so tourism increased, they changed the name to the 12 apostles, which sounds better than Sow and Piglets to attract more tourists. Our guide said that we could do an helicopter ride lasting 16 minutes, flying above the 12 apostles, Loch Ard Gorge and London Bridge and the Razorback, and 5 of the van did go. I didn't because I'm really scared of small planes and helicopters, and also it was 190 Australian dollars, more or less 110 euros. Apparently it's not that expensive. It's one of the cheapest helicopter rides in Australia, but yeah, I wasn't interested, even though it must have been amazing. And fun fact, there was a couple traveling with us on the minivan, and they were 2 of the 5 who went on the helicopter ride, and the guy proposed the girl, so they got engaged during the helicopter ride, and when they came back to the bus, we all applauded and congratulated and cheered them, so that was quite nice and romantic. The story behind the Loch Ard shipwreck was quite interesting. Basically, there was this ship traveling from the UK to Australia. It sank 1 kilometer from the coast. Out of the 52, I think, people on the ship, there were only 2 survivors. So basically, there was just one guy who managed to swim through the small opening of the Loch Ard Gorge, which is not easy to find. So he reached the beach, and after a while, after a few hours, he heard some screams coming from the ocean, and so he was so brave that he went back into the water and he managed to save the other survivor, Eva Carmichael. She was Irish, and then they managed to make their way back to the beach. There were 2 other survivors of the shipwreck finding refuge on the same small boat as Eva. She couldn't swim, by the way, important detail. At a certain point, they left her on the boat, or maybe she didn't want to go, and they tried to swim ashore, but unfortunately they were never seen. So yeah, the 2 survivors were extremely lucky, and given that it was Victorian times, very conservative times, so they slept in a cave basically during the night, and then eventually they managed to find someone to help them. And basically there was pressure from the Catholics in Australia to have them married, because unmarried people, like a woman and a man, they were both 18, they couldn't sleep in the same place before getting married, and so even though the circumstances were really extreme, they still had pressured them to get married, but they didn't. Eva had lost 7 family members in the shipwreck, and so she thought Australia was a god-forsaken country, and so after 2 weeks she traveled back to Ireland and then eventually got married and had 3 children there, while I can't remember the name of the guy, I'm sorry, but he would have happily married Eva, but yeah, he stayed in Australia. He became a captain eventually and survived 2 other shipwrecks.
Back to you, you know I try, I don't wanna lie about it, yeah, it's always been, yeah, I'm losing my mind, I'm so confused, always a mess, it's always you, losing my head, that's what you do, try to
So I thought I would tell you a bit about the tour I did yesterday. It was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it, even though when I woke up in the morning, I was excited, but also I dreaded the thought of being on the move in a minivan for 14 hours after not having slept very well. But then it went better than I thought, even though at two different points during the day, after lunch and while driving back to Melbourne, my eyes were closing. I've been picked up just around the corner in front of the Savoy Hotel. I'm staying at the Ibis. Do you say Ibis in English or is it Ibis? Who knows? So I'm staying here, and they don't pick you up right in front of this hotel because of some street regulations. But yeah, I just walked literally 1 minute round the corner to the Savoy Hotel at 7:40, and I was greeted by Chloe, who was so lovely. She was our guide and driver, and she said it was a full minivan yesterday, and so I had to sit in one of the two choices she gave me of seats, and I had the best seat of the whole minivan, so I could film the front window. How do you call that? Windshield. So I had the best place in the van, both to film videos and both to just have the time go by fast, because I could enjoy the landscape. But on the other side, it wasn't comfy to sleep. My head was doing that horrible thing of like when you're falling asleep and you go one way and then the other, and I was desperate. I almost thought about asking my neighbor sitting next to me if I could go there and lie against the window because of my jet lag, but obviously I didn't, because maybe she was the same as me, even though she didn't look as tired as I was and sleepy, and so I just stayed where I was. The drive back wasn't 2 hours and 45 minutes in a row. After 1 hour, we stopped for a quick dinner. Who wanted to could have dinner, and I had nasi goreng in a noodles bar, and then we drove 1 hour 45 minutes straight back to Melbourne. The tour was beautiful. The highlights for me were arriving in Torquay and seeing the beautiful beach, because in St Kilda it was a cloudy day and also it wasn't as beautiful, while Torquay was incredible and there were people going out with their surfboards, plenty of dogs, and also they offered us tea or coffee and cake. Chloe offered us. And then I saw my first koala. It was so cute. It looked like a teddy bear, like a cuddly toy. But it's really important you don't call them koala bears. We even listened to a song called Don't Call Us Koala Bears, because they are more similar to a kangaroo than they are to a bear, because they are marsupials and they have the pouch, so they're more similar to kangaroos. They are not like bears at all. I learned that they sleep 20 hours out of 24, and the other 4 hours they eat. That sounds quite a good life. I have no idea how they can sleep on a branch and not fall down, but how do they find the balance to just stay on the branch and sleep for 20 hours without losing their balance and falling down? Maybe I'm getting confused with pandas. Pandas, they do fall down quite often, I think, from trees. And going back to Chloe, she was amazing, and I honestly don't know how she could drive for about 14 hours. I mean, she didn't drive for the whole 14 hours. We had plenty of stops, plenty of coffee and toilet breaks and stuff, but still. And she was always so friendly, upbeat. She had this contagious good energy, good vibes, and she taught us so much. She gave us plenty of information about Australia and the Great Ocean Road in general. So I definitely recommend doing this tour if you do come to Melbourne.
But it's all